Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, looking at the Polkadot Parachains, we have the Crowdloans officially opened and we have the auctions taking place from November the 11th. So we're going to go through some of the nuances in this video, and at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm going to play this. So if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out the pinned comment down below, as there's various links that you may find useful, including one for a VPN for Surfshark, which if you haven't got a VPN, I would highly suggest getting one. Cryptocurrency directly from your browser, like you may be doing for this. You want to keep your IP address safe and secure from prying eyes. So Polkadot, here we have it, $53. The main thing to think about with these parachains is opportunity cost. So currently you can get roughly 12% for staking your DOT tokens. So if you were to bond 100 DOT to any parachain slot, then you're going to be giving up the right to earn, say, 12 DOT per year. And these last for 2 years in duration. So roughly, say, $1,300 is the opportunity cost at this current price level. And we do expect to see DOT at a higher price point as well. So many moving targets within this, but you want to think about recouping at least this cost from the parachain auctions. Now, what we saw over on the Kusama auctions was the likes of Mover, the Moon River token, performing exceptionally well. Now that rate of return, which was like thousands of percent, I do not believe will be reenacted here on the Polkadot Parachains. I think there's just too much interest in the Polkadot Parachains, too many big backers coming in for this primarily. The Kusama one didn't have any VC backers either, and so it went a bit under the radar, and that's why we had astronomical gains. I think there will still be big gains within the Polkadot Parachains, but you do want to kind of erase the Mover crazy figures that were done from your brain. That kind of ROI is not going to be achieved here. But one thing to think about here is the fact we're going to be locking up a ton of Polkadot in these parachains. So there will be huge scarcity on this token, and so the price of Polkadot itself is likely to go quite a bit higher in my opinion. So what are we doing this for? Well, essentially with these auctions, as Donnie puts it here, you've kind of got a yield farming strategy with really high APRs, but we don't suffer from impermanent loss or rug pulls. The only thing to think about is that opportunity cost, because you lock your DOT for 2 years, you can't stake them, but on the flip side, you will get those back in a 2-year period. In the meantime, we are rewarded with the tokens of the projects that we give our DOTs to for the Crowdloans. So you are getting quite a bit potentially in return for just taking on that opportunity cost. So bonding your DOT or KSM to these potentially multi-billion-dollar networks does make quite a bit of sense. Depending on what your overall stack is, how big a percentage of your whole portfolio Polkadot makes up, you need to think about how much you're willing to give into these Crowdloans. And especially thinking about your own financial situation, do you want to maybe sell some of these DOT to make a nice profit as the bull run progresses? Lots of individual considerations to be made for each of these decisions. But the fact of the matter is, some of these parachains could well be multi-billion dollar protocols. They could be major hubs for the overall crypto industry, as we haven't seen this kind of layer 0 architecture play out before. And essentially Polkadot is ETH2 coming for us. So let's just jump over to parachains.info. So over here, you can see a bit of a breakdown of the various Polkadot projects that are looking for a parachain slot. There's a general tab here. You can see how many Web3 grants each of these guys have received. Now this could be a good measure to see how much of a green light these guys have actually received from Web3. You can also see some token information here, how much of their supply they're giving away for the actual parachains, and how much, if they're currently a circulating token, are they worth. On the auction tab here, you can see the percentage they're giving away. So Astar here giving away 20% of their token supply, Acala 17%, Darwinia 2%, Moonbeam 10%. So a variety of information there that can be used to make some investment decisions and to see the general landscape here. So first and foremost, what we're going towards is an auction on the 11th of November. So each of these parachains needs to bond an amount of DOT to secure the slot for the 2-year lease, but we don't know how many tokens this is actually going to take, as these auctions are known as candle auctions. And if you imagine a candle, it goes out once the wax runs out, but no one knows when that's going to happen. So these auctions take place over 7 days, and I believe it's from day 3 onwards. The actual end time of the auction will not be known. We will be told after it's actually completed, the full 7 days, at what point that snapshot was taken for the end, and the parachain with the most DOT contributed at that point will actually go ahead and win the slot. Now the crowd loan is a bit different here. The crowd loan is where we can crowdsource our dots and in return get some of the project tokens in return. So you can do this in a variety of ways. You can use the Polkadot.js wallet. So I've got mine attached up here. Or you can do it directly through some centralized exchanges. Many of them are getting on board with these crowd loans. So if we just scroll down here, you can see Polkadot is enabled auctions 1 through 5 starting from November the 11th. So each of these last for 1 week and there'll be 5 winners over each of these 5 weeks. So what we can see from this information here is that Acala already has 8.4 million dot attributed to it. So this is a huge number, and for me this makes it pretty obvious that they're going to win the first slot. They have huge backers. So let's jump into the Acala site here. They have a max supply of 1 billion tokens, and they're going to be giving away 17% of these during this crowd loan. You can see the distribution here. 49% they say goes to community, but quite a lot of these are going to backers. So they've got just backers here, 11%, early backers 18%, and then roughly 20% for the founding team. So the token distribution for this isn't all that great in my opinion, but it's not the worst that I've seen. But you do know VCs have got in this one very early on, hence a lot of DOT has been contributed by those guys. So they probably are going to try and make a statement here and ensure that Acala is that #1 parachain. So the community is getting roughly 17%. You can see how this all works out here. And what's going to happen is some of these tokens will be vested from the get-go. So what do you actually get outright straight away? If you just come over here, you can see from here, just hovering over, 20% of these ACA tokens will be available to claim immediately, and then 80% will vest over a 96-week period. So you'll get 20% upfront. And they're suggesting the total reward at this moment in time will be roughly 3 Acalas per 1 dot bonded. So if you did bond 100 dot, you would get 300 Acala, and then straight away out the gate, you would be getting 60 of those to your wallet. So with a 1 billion max supply, you could maybe do some napkin math and think, well, does it get to 10, 20 billion dollars in valuation? Does the token price therefore get somewhere in the 10, 20, even higher region, because not all the tokens will be circulating straight away? You could probably do a little bit of thinking around that and suggest potentially where the price point of Acala may be. I do think it will be quite high, as there will be a lot of interest around this, but the one thing that does worry me is that the VC backers who have got in very early may start dumping. On top of this, Acala has a deflationary token model. Fixed supply is 1 billion, but they do have some token burns as well. Overall, I think this will be a very big protocol. Haven't done a deep dive on this one as yet, but it aims to be the DeFi hub for Polkadot and thus potentially the whole of the crypto industry. Now with this one as well, you can actually keep some of your DOT liquid if you go through their website and follow the liquid staking format for the crowd loan. Essentially what they'll do is they'll take your DOT off you, but in return they'll give you some LC DOT back once the parachain is up and running. So then you'll have some tokens you can use within their DeFi as well. So that's not a bad mix of having some liquid DOT you can play with, but also getting some of these Acala tokens up front. This is definitely one I'm keen to get involved with. The next one then is going to be Moonbeam, and I suggest the order in which we see here may potentially be the order in which these go through. Quite a lot of interest with Moonbeam, 24,000 contributors, a lot more contributors than Acala, but clearly not as big bag holders of DOT as in this team. But Moonbeam is only giving away 10% of their supply, and it does inflate by 5% per annum. And this is suggesting that for each 1 DOT that you bond, you'll get 1 Glimmer token, which is the Moonbeam token, back in return. 30% of which will be available to claim immediately once EVM transfers are enabled, and then 70% will vest over 96 weeks. Now, Moonriver did exceptionally well. I don't think that Moonbeam will do as well, but still, I'm sure it can do pretty damn well, seeing as this is a very highly regarded team. They're putting in major moves here with Moonriver, and so Moonbeam is definitely not going to be a flop, and it will be a tens of billions market cap protocol, that is for sure, and a major smart contract platform for the future. So again, it's one you're going to probably want to have a stake in, but the token distribution isn't all that great. So 1 billion tokens straight out the gate. What they do have on their side is from transaction fees, 80% are burned, 20% goes to treasury. But if we just go down here, we can see the various allocations and who's got funds. So seed funding, 14%, subject to a 24-month vesting schedule with a 3-month lock. Strategic Fund, another 12%. Community Event, 10%. Moonbeam Crowdloan just gets 10%. Parachain, they have their own bonding fund of 5%. And down here, you can see long-term ecosystem development, 15%, liquidity programs, 8%, and so on and so forth. But if we just go back here, there's some early backers getting 1.4%. Founders get 10%, and then future employees 4%. So this one has pretty decent token economics. However, you know you've got VC backers who are in a lot earlier than you, and the distribution is nowhere near as good as the Moon River token, which came on Kusama. Overall, my expectations for this is that this one will be massive. And if we just think about the relationship between Kusama and DOT projects, they only have a set number of developers. So I think over time, as they're starting out as experimental on Kusama, and then they put the working products over onto the DOT Parachains, well, you're going to see a bit of mindshare having to be concentrated on the DOT side of things. So whilst Kusama is very hot right now, and I'm in no way trying to write it off here, but I'm just saying that the team will only have so many hours in a day, and their focus will be on Polkadot, where they're going to have the most amount of liquidity and most value at stake. Now, Moonbeam is one of my favorite projects out there due to the fact it has that EVM compatibility, so it really is a smart contract platform of the future. And I think very big things will come for this one. So I will be contributing to this one as well, but the Glimmer token getting one-to-one with DOT may not be that great rate of return, but you do want to be hedged in these positions and have some of the tokens I would suggest. Now, the third one that I will definitely be getting involved with here is Astar. And they're projecting you'll get roughly 40 Astar tokens for each DOT that you're able to bond. You can see they've got roughly just under 1 million DOT actually contributed to their crowd loan already. So again, it's a very popular one. And this one is all about smart contracts. And they do have a bit of a liking for NFTs and the metaverse as well from listening in to their CEO talk. So out of these three, Astar are giving away the most tokens, 20% in total, so higher than the likes of Moonbeam and Acala. You will get 90% locked over a 22-month period and just 10% up front. So less tokens up front, a longer tail of release, but you're going to get an overall greater supply from these guys. Now, Astar have their tokenomics down here. So from their tokenomics, we can see 20% of the total supply, 1.4 billion, is given out as follows: 15% directly to the crowd loan and auction, and then 5% to a bonus pool. So this is another one you can get a bit of a bonus for referring people into the crowd loans. Again, there may be some links in the pinned comment down below that will help me out if you get involved. The minimum contribution for all of these is 5 DOT. So if you've got less than 5, you won't be able to get involved with these parachains. And I do think that Astar will get a parachain, but potentially they will come in the 3rd week here. So maybe around the November 25th to the 2nd of December. That round may be theirs for the taking. So as it stands, it looks like Acala will get the first one, Moonbeam probably get the second one, and Astar the third. And then I'm keeping quite a bit of dry powder here because who knows where these other ones will fall. We don't know what the early likely runners are for this and who may be a winner. 2 of the projects I do really like though are Bit Country, and these guys have just got themselves a Kusama slot. I'll just mute this down a little bit. This is a metaverse play. Very interesting to see the first metaverse on Polkadot. These guys, as I mentioned, just got their slot on Kusama, so they may go for a Polkadot for Parachain at a later date. So this one may be worth keeping dry powder for a later date in the future for one of those later slots. And the other one here is Centrifuge, and these guys are bringing NFTs to the real world. As they say, the home for real world DeFi on Polkadot. Centrifuge is the real world asset bridge, bringing trillions in hard assets to the Polkadot ecosystem. So I think they do this via NFTs, and this could be super, super interesting as we know how hyped NFTs are and their use cases in the real world far outstretch what we've seen so far in the crypto industry. So there's a few currently on my radar for a later date. But what I do want to think about and highlight here is the fact that a lot of DOT is going to be locked up early on. So we're just at the crowd loan phase here, and the actual auction doesn't begin till the 11th. So it's still a few days to go here, and there's already 14.8 million DOT being locked in. So let's just suggest maybe 20, 30, 40 million DOT get locked in Acala and they win the first one. We may get to a position where we're like at auction 4, auction 5, and say like 10, 15, 20% of the total number of DOT in existence have actually been locked up. Well, this is going to make DOT very scarce, And there may be really good incentives to help get crowd loans for later projects. Maybe in auctions 6 through 11, we have some really nice incentives coming our way. So this is why I want to keep dry powder in the form of Polkadot tokens ready and available for potential big gains later on. The first ones we know are going to be highly diluted. Everyone wants to get involved with your Acalas, your Moonbeams, but maybe some of these lower order ones could be some dark horses to have your eye on and make better gains with. Now, in terms of centralized exchanges over on Binance, they're participating with crowd loans. They've literally just listed the Moon River token, and there's a lot of interest on Binance for Parachains. Go to Finance, Binance Earn by here, and it takes you over to a Polkadot page where you can actually directly contribute. And they're doing some early bird rewards as well. So if you started to contribute already, you can actually get some additional tokens as a bit of a pat on the back and a thank you. This is the potential of Binance. They can just say to these guys, look, we're going to list you, give us a load of tokens, and we can incentivize people to our platform to get involved with the Parachains. And that is clearly what's happened today with Moonbeam and the Moon River token. 2,700 Mover tokens have been given in rewards here for this pre-Parachain release, as they're calling it a warm-up period. So this runs up to the 11th of November. So if you did want to get involved here on Binance, clearly this is quite a centralized place. You're not keeping control of your own funds, whether you want to actually hold funds on Binance for 2 years. These are decisions you're going to have to make for yourself. But it does seem that quite a lot of the FUD around Binance has kind of disappeared at this point. And I'm sure this is a behemoth in the industry that will be here for many years to come. So I wouldn't be too worried about Binance going out of business per se, but we do know it's in the regulatory clutches of the SEC and others. So as they say, no free lunch, there's some good bonuses here, but you're going to take on a little bit of additional risk. So that is on Binance. You can get involved with all the Parachains directly through there, and they have this early bird period. From the 11th of November, then the auction actually starts, and you can get involved anytime during that first auction, but it looks like Acala is going to win that, so you'll probably want to bond to Acala at that point. And then we have Kraken as well. These guys have only got 3 projects, Acala, Moonbeam, and Astar, up for the Parachain auctions at this moment in time. Maybe that's because we're on auction round number 1 and they know that it's going to be between one of these 3 anyway. No bonuses directly on here. They take a 10% cut from any rewards as well, but as a simple place to get involved with a Parachain, if you've already got your tokens staking for DOT over on Kraken, maybe this will be the easiest way to get involved. So these crowd loans have just started. They've been live for the first week prior to the actual auctions starting on the 11th of November. So you can see the early interest in this sector of the market, and these Parachains are going to be hugely hyped as coverage is just rife right now for them. So early winners of Parachain slots will be all over the news media, and these are the potential blue chips of the future being born. So it makes sense to want to have a stake in some of these networks. Now for me, I'm happy to give up 50% of my total DOT into crowd loans. I'm going to split that between 5 projects in total. 3 I've made pretty obvious here, and then the 2, my kind of dark horses, potentially BitCountry if they do come in for a Polkadot Parachain, potentially Centrifuge, but I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest for those final 2 slots and see what kind of plays out here. As we know in crypto, a week feels like a year and a month feels like multi-decades, and a lot can change in that period of time. So having a flexible approach, I think, is the best way to do this, and I'll reassess the position of the various projects that want to get Parachains and see how they're incentivizing us as DOT holders later on. So that being said, I hope this video was in some way helpful, but let me know your Parachain strategies down below. Which ones are you contributing to? Are you going in Hail Mary from the get-go? Are you going to keep a bit of dry powder back for later stages with potential higher ROI coming, just like me? Let me know down below. Very interested to hear from you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.